If this message reaches you, it is meant for you. For anyone seeking inner peace today, you are not the mind. Listen. Most people think Christmas is about remembering something that happened long ago. A story told every year, a child born in a manger, a moment frozen in history, but Christmas was never meant to be remembered. It was meant to be experienced, not once, not 2,000 years ago, but now, because the real birth of Christ was never meant to happen outside of you. It happens inside you, quietly, without announcement, without force, and that is why so many people celebrate Christmas every year and still feel something missing, something unfulfilled, something they cannot name. Christ was never meant to be admired as a figure or worshipped as a distant symbol. Christ is a state of consciousness, an awareness that awakens when the mind becomes still enough to stop searching. It happened in silence because truth is never born in noise. It is born when resistance ends. You may recognize this in your own life. Think of the man who spent decades working, providing, achieving everything he was told would bring fulfillment, a respected career, a family, a warm home, and on Christmas night, after the laughter fades and the house grows quiet, he sits alone, not feeling sad and not feeling happy, just empty, staring at the tree lights, wondering why something feels unfinished even though nothing is wrong. That moment is not failure. It is not depression. It is awareness knocking, because the external life was built, but the inner birth was postponed. Christmas awakens that memory in us, the memory that peace does not come from what surrounds us, but from what arises within us. Another example appears in moments of loss. A woman in her late 60s loses her husband just before Christmas. The season everyone tells her to stay strong, to have faith, to keep busy, but none of those words reach her. On Christmas morning, she does not decorate, she does not celebrate, she simply sits by the window watching the snow fall and, for the first time since her loss, she stops trying to survive her grief. She does not push it away. She does not explain it. She simply allows herself to be present with it, and suddenly, without thought, without effort, without belief, a deep peace settles in her chest, not happiness, not relief, just a quiet knowing that she is not alone in the moment. That is not imagination, that is not denial, that is the birth that happens when resistance leaves. This is why Christ cannot be forced into consciousness. You cannot pray this birth into happening. You cannot earn it through goodness. You cannot think your way into it, because Christ is not created, it is revealed. When the mind stops demanding answers, when the heart stops fighting life, when the moment is allowed to be exactly as it is, something else takes over. Something that does not panic, does not judge, does not fear. This is what the old mystics pointed toward when they spoke of stillness, not as a technique, not as a discipline, but as a natural state that appears when striving ends. You may notice this in very ordinary moments. A father sitting quietly while his grandchildren sleep, feeling a sudden tenderness without reason. A woman washing dishes late at night, the house silent, when a sense of completeness washes over her even though nothing changed externally. A man recovering from illness who realizes one morning that his breath itself feels like a gift, not because he forced gratitude, but because awareness opened naturally. These are not emotional highs. They are moments when consciousness shifts from doing to being, from thinking to presence, and in those moments, something ancient and familiar awakens. Christmas feels empty for many people because it is used to escape instead of enter. The decorations, the noise, the obligations, the forced joy, all of it keeps attention outward, while the original invitation of Christmas was inward. It was never about celebrating louder, it was about becoming quieter. The more we decorate the outside, the more we avoid the inside, and yet the inside is where the birth takes place. That is why Christmas can feel painful for those who are lonely, grieving, or tired of pretending, because the season naturally pulls attention toward what has been avoided all year. When the scriptures say the Word became flesh, they are not speaking of language or sound. They are pointing to awareness becoming lived, consciousness becoming embodied, truth no longer being an idea but a presence felt in everyday life. This happens when the mind loosens its grip and awareness steps forward. You do not suddenly become perfect. Your life does not instantly change, but your relationship with life changes. You stop asking for peace in the future and begin recognizing peace in the present. You stop fighting your past and fearing what is coming. You are still human, but you are no longer trapped in the noise of thought. The most important thing to understand is that none of this requires belief. Belief belongs to the mind, and the mind always argues. Recognition belongs to awareness, and awareness is silent. You do not need to convince yourself of anything. Simply notice the stillness between thoughts, the space behind emotions, the quiet presence watching the moment unfold. Do nothing with it. That space is the manger. That awareness is the birth. It does not announce itself. It does not demand attention. It simply is. This Christmas, you do not need to fix yourself, improve yourself, or become someone else. Nothing is wrong with you. The world taught you to wait for peace, to earn it, to deserve it. But Christmas reveals something radical and gentle at the same time. Peace arrives when resistance leaves. Christ is not coming from outside. Christ is revealed when searching ends. And if this message reached you now, it may already be happening in you, quietly, naturally, without effort. Stay with this awareness. Not to learn more, not to collect ideas, but to remember what you already are. If this resonated, stay connected with this space. Subscribe not for answers, but for remembrance. Because the birth that happens inside you does not belong to a season. It belongs to every moment you stop resisting life and allow truth to be present.